Calendar number 115 as 2296, a bill to authorize appropriations for fiscal year 2026 for military activities of the Department of Defense and so forth and for other purposes.
Okay to go now. Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the quorum call be vitiated. We're not in quorum call. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, 2 years ago, when the government was on the brink of a shutdown, the then majority leader, now minority leader, Senator Schumer of New York, wrote a letter to his colleagues. I have it here. Dated September 2023, it says, "Dear colleague." In his letter, Senator Schumer wrote, quote, "We cannot afford brinksmanship or hostage-taking." He went on to say, "The only way to avoid a shutdown is through bipartisanship." Well, Mr. President, I'm happy to announce that just in the last hour, the House of Representatives passed in a bipartisan vote a continuing resolution to keep the government funded. That's not what we're seeing today, though, from the minority leader. Senator Schumer has written this time not a dear colleague letter, but the biggest ransom note in American history.
Would my colleague yield for a question?
Regular order, no. $1 trillion, $1 trillion in ransom.
Order.
$1 trillion in ransom for 4 weeks of keeping the government open. It is filled with partisan political poison pills that will never become law. What we are seeing today from the minority leader is exactly what he once condemned. He is holding the American people hostage. What he's promoting today is not a spending bill, it's a shakedown. The Schumer shakedown, the Schumer strategy to lead to a Schumer shutdown. Let me break down this ransom note line by line, because the American people deserve to know what the Democrats are demanding. Their $1 trillion demands include $500 billion to continue the COVID era spending spree. We were originally told that the COVID bonus subsidies would be temporary. Democrats now want to turn them into a permanent government giveaway. This is in spite of the fact that the COVID crisis has ended years ago. The Nobel-winning economist Milton Friedman was right. He said nothing is more permanent than a temporary government program. Additionally, Democrats want to weaken Medicaid for those who need it the most. Republicans' comprehensive economic plan strengthens Medicaid. We reduce waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption. Democrats want to kill those reforms. They want to repeal the entire health care section of the law. Democrats would rather shut down the government than stop states from paying for free health care for illegal immigrants. Democrats want to continue to give Medicaid to able-bodied working-age adults who refuse to work. Democrats are holding America hostage for people who broke our laws and for people who refuse to get jobs. Now let's talk about money that the Democrats want to send overseas. This bill spends billions of dollars on radical climate projects. Zimbabwe, $13 million for, quote, civic engagement. Honduras, $25 million for, quote, climate resilience. West Africa, $40 million for, quote, low emissions development. Let that sink in. Republicans want to keep the government open, pay our troops here at home. Democrats would rather fund climate projects overseas and are willing to shut down the government if we're not willing to do that. Democrats are willfully wasting billions of hardworking American tax dollars on their liberal fantasies. Republicans are proposing 7 weeks of clean, funding. It's what's passed the House in a bipartisan way just an hour ago, and Democrats instead are demanding 7 figures for foreign slush funds. Mr. President, let me point out that Democrats do make some spending cuts. Regrettably, those cuts target our nation's most vulnerable hospitals in rural communities. Democrats want to eliminate the $50 billion Rural Hospital Stabilization Fund. It's something we just passed earlier this year, passed it this summer. It's something that I hear about from our hospitals at home and how grateful they are. And I'm a doctor. I practiced medicine in my home state of Wyoming for more than 20 years. I was president of the Wyoming Medical Society. I know the stresses and strains on rural hospitals, and that's why this was passed. And Mr. President, your home state of West Virginia experiences exactly the same thing. We both know how many small community hospitals need the kind of help that we were able to pass, that the Democrats now want to strip away. With rural hospitals under significant stress, the last thing Congress should do is remove the funds designated to help keep them open. And they want to instead spend this money in foreign countries. That's what the Democrats want to do. Let me return to Senator Schumer's own words. We cannot afford brinksmanship or hostage-taking, yet hostage-taking is exactly what he is doing today. Senator Schumer's demanding $1 trillion in new spending for keeping the government open for just 4 weeks. He's sending billions of dollars to foreign countries, but slashing billions of dollars for rural hospitals in our own country. Subsidizing free health care for people who refuse to get jobs, but threatening the paychecks of the people whose jobs it is to keep our nation safe. He's demanding a far-left wish list, or else he wants to shut down the government. That's the Democrat strategy today. Make no mistake, Republicans will hold Democrats accountable for supporting this dangerous political theater. The good news is Congress can keep the government open and functioning without hostage-taking and without shakedowns. Republicans' clean, continuing bipartisan resolution that just passed the House with a bipartisan vote is ready to go. 7 weeks long, it gives Republicans and Democrats on the Appropriations Committee the time they need to finish their work. And I see the chairman of the Appropriations Committee and ranking member on the floor right now. The House passed it today, bipartisan. President says he'll sign it. Senate Democrats voted for similar bills, not once, not twice, but 13 times when Joe Biden was president. There's only one person standing in the way of keeping the government open, and that is the minority leader. He has said it himself, we cannot afford hostage-taking. I would say to the minority leader, stop holding the government hostage, stop holding the American people hostage, get rid of the ransom note, keep the government open. The American people deserve better than $1 trillion shakedown. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
The Democratic leader.
I would just make one point to my good friend from Wyoming. When we were in the majority for 4 years, there was not a shutdown, not one. Why? Because we did what you're supposed to do. Talk in a bipartisan negotiation, and each side has input. The reason we're having a shutdown now is you and your leadership refuse to talk to Democrats and have any input and want only your imprimatur on the bill, which we believe hurts Americans badly with health care. Never a shutdown when we were in the leadership. So you can quote all the things you want. We did it the right way. You are not.
During remarks on the Senate floor Friday, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat New York, responded to Senator John Barrasso, Republican Wyoming, after Barrasso accused Democrats of threatening to let the government shut down. Barrasso began by recalling a 2023 letter Schumer once sent urging bipartisanship to avoid brinkmanship. He argued that Democrats were now ignoring their own advice by demanding what he described as a $1 trillion ransom in exchange for just 4 weeks of funding. According to Barrasso, the Democratic plan included provisions to extend COVID-era subsidies permanently, weaken Medicaid reforms, and continue health care access for undocumented immigrants and able-bodied adults unwilling to work. He criticized funding allocations for overseas climate projects in countries like Zimbabwe, Honduras, and West Africa while accusing Democrats of cutting support for rural hospitals in the United States. Barrasso warned that eliminating a $50 billion stabilization fund would harm vulnerable communities, especially in states like his own Wyoming and in West Virginia. He framed the proposal as a Schumer shutdown that prioritized foreign projects and partisan programs over domestic needs, including the paychecks of U.S. troops. Barrasso said Republicans were offering a clean, 7-week continuing resolution, which had already passed the House with bipartisan support. He noted that similar bills had been backed repeatedly by Democrats in the past and argued there was no reason to oppose it now. Schumer countered by pointing out that when Democrats held the majority, there were no shutdowns because both parties engaged in negotiations. He said Republicans had refused to work across the aisle this time, insisting on their own terms in a way that he believed would harm health care and other services for Americans. Schumer argued that the real cause of the stalemate was Republican unwillingness to include Democratic input.